along whether rain or shine. She's a part of the assembly line. She's making history, working for victory. Rosie, the Riveter.
Then we'll be, Lillian will get herself started in about 5 seconds. I play a little bit of the tape to start off, because at the beginning of the tape is where you have a little distortion sometimes. Hello, my name is Dr. Tom Bannon. I'm from Kean University and the Battleship, New Jersey Oral History Project. Today is May 20th, and I'm in Collingswood, New Jersey with Miss Lillian Carson, who worked aboard the Battleship, New Jersey as a welder from 1941 until 1946 at the Philadelphia Navy Yard.
Right.
Ms. Carson, thank you so much for talking with us today.
You're welcome.
Well, let's start off.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Let's start off the conversation. And again, this tape again is different than the other tape, so it's going to be stored in a different area. But tell me, how did you get to be involved with the Battleship, New Jersey?
Well, do you want to know before I got in the shipyard?
Sure, before you got in the shipyard.
Well, I had graduated high school and from a small town in Pennsylvania, and there was no work there. My father was a town plumber, but there wasn't any work for him after the war started. So he decided to come to Philadelphia to work in a defense plant. So my sister and I came along with him. I went to the office. I wanted to get an office job, but the shipyard put you where they wanted you. They sent me to Bach Vocational School for 4 weeks. And when I come back to the shipyard, I was a welder. I think a pretty good one. And I worked at the shipyard until 1946. Worked on the New Jersey. It was very cold. It was nice in the summer, though. But in the winter, you froze to death with that icy wind off of the water. But it was nice.
You mentioned before that you were not allowed to work below the decks of the ship.
No, the women were on the top deck.
Did they ever
Yes.
tell you why?
No, they didn't. But I can imagine why.
They just wanted you on the top deck and not down below. Then the men did all the work down below.
Right.
Would that be correct?
That's right.
Talk to me about your training as a welder. What did you have to learn?
Well, Bach Vocational, they set you up with the tools, the mask, everything. I never touched a rod in my life. But they showed us how to do it. We did that every day for 4 weeks. And I liked it. I liked it from the beginning.
What made you like welding?
I don't know. I guess it was so far-fetched from office work.
Now, as a young woman, was this a new, interesting career to go into? Because women at that time were either nurses, teachers, or secretaries.
I wanted to work in an office. That's what I took in high school. That's what I wanted to do. But when I started welding, I didn't think about the office anymore. But I didn't think that was a career either for women. I knew it wasn't. But it was nice to work there, but we weren't welcome.
What do you mean you weren't welcome? Please explain that.
Well, the men we worked with, I think, resented us being there. Not all of them, but a lot of them.
And how do they show that?
Well, you're supposed to work together sometimes. They put, you work in pairs on different jobs, but they didn't want to work with you. And they would tell you they didn't want to work with you. So you have to get another partner, and they could make it really tough to work.
So did women normally end up working together?
Well, on different jobs. There's some jobs you can't work alone. They're heavy metal. So you need a partner. But a lot of them didn't want to work with you.
What type of welding did you do? What did you weld on the ship? What are some of the items or materials you used?
Well, it's all iron work. By the time we were ready to leave the shipyard, they had already gotten an electric welder, which we should have had before. But I guess this was stronger to do it by hand. But that's a beautiful ship.
What was an electric welder compared to the welder that you used?
This is electric welding, what we were doing. But this welder was a machine. There's always a groove you have to weld into. And you set the machine beside this groove, and it just would spit out the welding and go along with it twice as fast as we could do it.
So you used to hold the rod in your hand with a torch and then drop the metal into the groove.
That's right.
And this was a much faster process.
Yeah, it was.
Was it hard to work with the metals on the ship? Was there any things that were very hard to weld together?
No, it was mostly, I forget the iron. But anyway, it was a very heavy iron. And it wasn't hard to weld. In fact, the heavier you enjoyed it better. You could do a better job when it was heavy welding.
Did you notice any difference between the men and the women and their attitudes towards the work? Was anybody prouder of it? Were they the same?
Well, the women were proud of their work. I'm not sure the men were.
Why do you say that?
Well, we never got complimented. They were glad, I think, when we were gone.
Oh, really? You thought so? The men were happy when you left.
Yeah.
They weren't ready to accept women yet in the job of
they weren't.
welder. Yeah. Now, what type of since the men and women were somewhat separate, what about the men? How would you describe the men who worked on the ship as welders?
Well, like I said, you had to work with them. When I worked on the deck on the Battleship, I had a man helping me hold the metal while I welded it. And different things they have to do, you know. And the ship fitters worked with you too. They were nice.
What is a ship fitter's job?
They put the ship together. We weld the pieces, and they assemble it, put it together. They were really nice.
Anything else you want to say about the ship at this point?
Oh, I don't think so. I think we're an important part of the ship. I like to think that.
Were you there the day the ship was launched?
Yes, I was.
What do you recall about that day? December 7th, 1942 it went into the water, I believe.
I just remember a woman hitting the bottle against the ship.
That was Governor Edison's wife.
Was it? I forget who she was, yeah. And all the speeches. It was nice.
Do you remember anybody singing a song that day?
I don't remember.
God Save America, God Bless America by Kate Smith?
Oh, probably. But I would remember her, but I don't. Yeah.
Were people, I assume they'd be proud of the ship when it went into the water?
Oh, yeah. It was hoots and hollers. Yeah, it was great.
Now, talk to me a little bit about your pay at the time compared to what you could have gotten as a secretary or if you stayed back in your hometown. Was the pay better, not so good, working on the ship?
Well, when I was hired at the shipyard, my first pay, I couldn't believe it. I've never made so much money in my life. I made $1.25 an hour. Back home, I would be lucky to get 50 cents an hour or 53 cents an hour. It was great.
And what did you do with all that money?
Well, when I left the shipyard, I had over $900 in bonds. And I had a little bit of cash, not much. I like to shop.
Bought a lot of clothes?
Yeah. Clothes, there's nowhere to wear them. You're working all the time. 7 days a week.
Oh, you worked 7 days a week?
Yes, I did. You had to work 7 days a week. It was compulsory. And I worked a lot of Saturdays so I could double shift, so I could have Sunday off.
Oh, I see, I see.
Yeah.
Now, I noticed behind you, we have a photograph, of course, of the ladies who worked with you on the ship. There is how many worked with you on the ship as welders?
Well, we didn't all work on the ship. Some assembled in the shop. There was 13 of us.
13. They were trained
Yeah.
as welders.
Right.
And did you ever stay together as friends, or did you not, after
No,
work?
it was all work, and then we got out 1 o'clock in the morning, so there's not too much you could do at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Now, I noticed there's a number of African-American females there also,
Yes,
which
there
is
is.
unusual at that time, to be hiring minority people.
Yeah.
And that was the result of Franklin Roosevelt's policies.
That's true.
How did the African-American woman fit in with the rest of the crew? Because there's a lot of racism in America at the time.
There wasn't. We all worked together and we were friends. There was no animosity, nothing.
And everybody got paid the same wage?
Yes.
Now, how many of those ladies do you know are still around this area today?
There's only 3 of us that I know of. The rest, I don't, they were a lot from the coal country.
And talk a little bit about that, where the woman in that picture came from. You said some from the coal country. Tell us where the coal country is and what would attract them out of the coal country to the Battleship.
Well, I imagine they have the same problem I did. In a small town, there's nothing to do.
And which state was that in?
It's Pennsylvania. And they were from Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, all those little towns, Easton, in the coal country. And I think most of those girls are from there.
And you said some other woman came from another location?
Some of them are from South Philadelphia, and some were from, I've forgotten, Philadelphia, General.
Generally Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Anybody come over from New Jersey to work on the ship?
I imagine a lot of men did, but I don't know of any of the women.
All the women didn't.
But you have to understand, there's the aircraft was mostly women, a lot of women, so they might have been from New Jersey. The submarines would be mostly men, yeah.
And so to have women on a ship as large as a battleship was unusual then?
Yeah.
It's quite unusual. So as you look back on that time in your life, how does it impact you? What do you think about it today, years later? Was it a good time, happy time, hard time?
It was a good time. I liked the work. You have to like your work to be happy. I did. Because when I left the yard, I went into a welding shop, a small welding shop. And I was there for 10 years. So I had to like it. I did. I liked it very much.
What made you like it? Why'd you like welding?
I think it was different. I don't know. It was tedious. I don't know how to explain it, but it just fit the bill at that time.
Were there any other female welders in this shop when you were there?
No, I was the only one.
I think you probably like being a female doing something that men normally do. Is that?
I don't know. I don't know what it was. I just liked to weld.
And the pay was good as a welder?
Yeah, well, I could tell you a story about that.
Tell us a story. Go right ahead.
The men got $5 an hour. I got $3. There was no women's lib then. There should have been.
So for doing the same work, they got $5. You got
I trained some of them.
And they got paid more than you did.
Yeah, they got $5 an hour.
How did you feel about that at the time?
I was mad. Wasn't fair. But there wasn't anything at that time you could do about it.
It's a tough time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
But you were sort of breaking new ground by, as a female welder, training men how to weld, and they had to follow your directions as a result.
Yeah.
didn't they?
Yeah.
Now, after you finished welding, what did you do in life?
Well, I was married. I had twins, which was a job in itself. And my husband worked day work. My husband worked night work and I worked day work so he could babysit while I was working. So it worked out all right
Did you remain a welder?
for 10 years.
What did you do
After that, I went in an office where I wanted to go in the beginning, but I worked for the Boy Scouts of America in their office. I retired from there.
Did you like office work better than welding?
No.
You like welding better?
Yeah, I did.
So
But welding plays tricks on you.
what do
Makes
you
your
mean?
eyes bad.
Because of the bright lights?
Yeah, the glare.
Anything from the fumes, does that bother you too?
Yeah, it did. I had to have chest x-rays every 3 months.
Really? As a
Yeah.
welder, you had to do that?
Yeah,
How about, did you use asbestos blankets to cover
I
yourself?
did that too.
And that's not good. That's
Yeah.
asbestosis. You can
Yeah,
get
but I didn't get that.
Didn't.
I was fortunate. Yeah. But we always covered our weld too. So you could go so far with it, and that was it. The asbestos stopped you, you know.
And those asbestos blankets are hot during the summertime, aren't
Yeah, yeah.
they? Very, very hot to work with.
Besides a leather jacket.
To protect you from burns or anything
Yeah.
like that?
A lot of times my hair would catch on fire. It was funny.
Must have been funny at the time.
Yeah.
Now, is there anything else you want to say about, while we still have the tape running, anything I should have asked or talked about I didn't, that you'd like to leave for the historical record?
Oh, I don't know. Except that it's funny how life turns you around. To be a lady welder or something out you never even think of. And to continue it after I stopped one welding job to start another one. I can't believe I did that. But I liked it.
I think you're something of a woman's liberationist before your time, don't you?
I wish there was something I could have
think you
done
were.
about it. Yes.
Well, I think you were, but you started breaking new ground so other people can follow later on, and you build on what's happened before. So you opened up doors for other women to be
Yeah.
accepted as welders in professional careers and so on like that. That's good.
When I applied for the job in the sign shop, I was going to electrify the signs, you know, put the electric in. When he found out on my application that I was a welder, that was it. He needed a welder, and I was their welder. But then the men started coming in, and they had to be trained for that type of work. So I got that job, but I still had to weld my own, you know, for them.
So the man who hired, what was the name of the company you worked for?
I'd rather not tell you.
Okay. The man who hired you then was somewhat forward-looking because he saw you as a female, but he also saw you as a welder, and he
That's
hired you
right.
as a welder. He didn't say, no, I don't want you.
No,
So
he
was-
wanted me.
He,
Yeah.
he was a little bit liberated himself, wasn't he? in some
Yeah,
ways?
he was.
Was he a good boss?
Yeah, sort of. He was very hard-nosed. You did your job. Well, was just what you expect, you know. But he also, if you needed help, he was there to help you.
But he
Uh,
did something nice. He gave you a job when other men might not have done that,
They wouldn't have.
which is good, which is good.
They wouldn't have. So,
Anything else?
I don't think so.
We've said a lot. We've said a lot, I think, in the almost 17, 18 minutes we've been talking on the tape. And that can be enough. That's good.
That's my life.
Okay, well, good. Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Today I've been interviewing Miss Lillian Carson. It is May 20th, the year 2005. We're at her home in Collingswood, New Jersey. And Miss Carson was one of the 13 female welders who helped to build the Battleship, New Jersey during the early 1940s. And thank you very much, Miss Carson.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Was my
That's it. We are done. Very good job.
Oh, how about that?
You're all done. You just have to unclip that microphone.
Yeah, I remember it this time.
That's okay. Oh, you know what happens? Oh boy, when people have never done this before, I did that myself. I move away and I forget I'm clipped up to a microphone. I almost pull the whole thing over sometimes. So I like interviewing people who've never been interviewed before. I've interviewed a few people who've been like on TV and radio, and they're professional people. And one guy I interviewed was Oliver North. You know, he was, you know, see him on TV, Fox TV sometimes. Well, the Battleship New Jersey saved Oliver North in Vietnam because he was surrounded by enemy forces, and the battleship's 5 and 16-inch guns blew away the enemy, took care of the enemy. But Oliver North has been interviewed hundreds of times. So it's like he knows what he's going to say, and he doesn't make a mistake, and he's so professional at it that there's no life in it. So you have life in what you're saying, which is nice.
I'm too hesitant, though.
Don't worry about it, but that's okay. But the professional people like that, they're very smooth, and they know how to say things, and it goes on. So I like talking to people like yourself. It helps add to the historical record. That's what it does. Well, thank you so much.
I'm glad.
Okay, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to break this equipment down now, so it's going to take me about 15 minutes, so you have to just grin and bear as I'm running around here,
I'm
right?
in no hurry.
Okay, great. Let me just pull this tape out.